Hello, everyone, and welcome to the U.S. Center. Very excited for our event here at 1:45, Net Zero World, Implementing Pathways to Achieve Clean, Secure Energy Systems. And it's my honor and privilege to invite once again here to the stage at the U.S. Center, David Turk, the Deputy Secretary of the U.S. Department of Energy.
Well, thanks very much for the introduction, and terrific to see so many folks here about something that I know is very near and dear to many of our hearts, Net Zero World, but for some people may be something new as well. So I just wanted to give you a theory of the case. What are we trying to do with Net Zero World, working with key partners? And then we've got a video, and we've got a phenomenal panel, and we've got a phenomenal closing speaker also, all in the span of less than a half hour. So we're going to try to keep this brisk, as they say. All right, so Net Zero World. We in the United States are incredibly blessed through a lot of investment from federal taxpayers for many, many years in a national lab apparatus. We called it the crown jewels of our research and development. Everything that we do, not just in energy, but in science. 17 national labs to be exact. This came out of Los Alamos, for those who've watched Oppenheimer and the Manhattan Project, but it is diversified to cover basic science, to cover applied research, to cover systems modeling, to cover every technology that you could think of that we need to have as part of our portfolio of technologies to get to net zero. It also includes phenomenal modelers, folks that we call on at the Department of Energy and across the U.S. government to help us achieve our objectives. President Biden, rightfully so, in my opinion, according with the science, has put incredibly ambitious targets, decarbonization targets, on the table. We have to get our emissions under 50% by 2030. That's not that many years. We're almost in 2024. We're making some significant progress on the U.S. side. The Inflation Reduction Act, these big pieces of legislation, have hypercharged our own acceleration of our decreases in emissions. This year, in fact, we're actually going to decrease our emissions 3.1% in the U.S., despite healthy GDP growth of over 2%. But we've got to do more, and we've got to implement. The idea behind Net Zero World is, as everyone's making these commitments, 2030 commitments, net zero commitments by mid-century, the real ballgame here is implementation and execution. How do we actually take these political commitments by countries, by companies, and how do we actually achieve these commitments in the real world? And again, remember, we need to decarbonize not just electricity, which we're making some significant progress in the U.S. and some other countries as well around the world, but we've got to decarbonize transportation. Transportation is actually the largest source of emissions in the U.S. right now. We've got to decarbonize industrial emissions. Many of those are so-called harder to decarbonize sectors, and we need to decarbonize those quickly. We need to decarbonize buildings, and we need to do this in a way that's fair and just for all people in our country and around the world as well. So this is an incredibly challenging, audacious task ahead of us. It's something we need to do. Again, we in the United States rely on our national labs to get this done. Tens of thousands of phenomenal scientists, phenomenal modelers, phenomenal experts helping us in all aspects of our decarbonization plans, our implementation. Net Zero World is simply leveraging that expertise, taking that expertise, and making it available to countries around the world. This is something we're not looking for headlines. That's probably why many people haven't heard of Net Zero World. This is behind the scenes. This is not telling countries, here's what your goals should be. This is taking countries with their goals, with their objectives, working behind the scenes, leveraging that phenomenal national lab expertise to help those countries be more successful doing what they need to do. When I look around the world, thinking in the U.S. and around the world, the two biggest barriers I see to actually implementing and being successful in our decarbonization journeys. One is the agencies that need to make these kinds of changes, that need to accelerate these kinds of changes. A lot of times these are the most cautious agencies, right? Energy ministers, I'm a deputy secretary, a deputy minister of our Department of Energy. Folks literally get fired, and that's not an overstatement, if the lights don't work, if electricity is not delivered, if there's a breakdown in energy systems. And this doesn't just happen in the U.S., it happens around the world. So when we say you need to make changes like never before and do it in a couple decade period of time, that is a daunting proposition. That is something that they're going to need expertise, gold star expertise, independent expertise informing them, oh, it worked here in this country, it worked here, here's how we're doing it in the United States, learning from each other, increasing that comfort level going forward. And then the second thing we need to do is we need to leverage finance like never before. Most, unfortunately, of the clean energy finance going on in the world right now is happening in developed countries. That's not going to work. We need to have that leverage, that international finance, that private sector finance all around the world for all the world's people. As we'll get into with our panel, what we're trying to do at Net Zero World is having the enabling environment that helps that finance flow at the scale that we need it to flow with key countries around the world. So we have 8 countries as part of Net Zero World right now. We'll hear from one representative of one of those countries. We'll have a video that we play which has a little bit more information. We have a couple of our national lab directors here to give you their perspective on what we're doing. Let me just give you a little bit of color and texture on a couple of the projects we're working on. We've got 23 separate decarbonization projects, including working with Chile to phase out their coal power plants. We're developing a $1.3 billion plan to reduce diesel emissions in Indonesia. And as we'll hear from our Ukrainian deputy minister, we're working in Ukraine to help them weather the storm and then to be able to rebuild in a clean way, in a way that's good for their population, their economic bottom line. As you can see, these are big projects. These are not nibbling around the margins. These are taking on some of the toughest decarbonization challenges head on. We're looking to mobilize $10 billion of investments just by 2025. So that's the level of scale, that's the level of ambition that we're trying to do here. Before we turn to the video, I want to make a few announcements relevant for Net Zero World. We're trying to work in partnership with others who are also doing great work internationally. We're teaming up in particular with GIZ. For those who know international development, GIZ is a big player with huge flotillas of phenomenal talent, phenomenal funding. We're working with GIZ in particular to enhance our energy sector decarbonization modeling and investment mobilization efforts. When Germany and the U.S. can work together, we can work with other countries, the likes of GIZ. That's a big leverage opportunities. Secondly, we're working with the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet, and we'll hear from the key leader of that effort in our closing comments on their Battery Energy Storage System Consortium. Energy storage is a big deal. We need that technology globally, and thank you, Joseph, for all that you're working in our partnership on that. And third, we're launching a second cohort under our Climate Smart Women Energy Leaders program, providing more women from Net Zero World countries the opportunity to hone their skills at our world-class national lab expertise. So let's show the video. I'll make some introductions. We'll ask some questions, and you'll learn an awful lot more about Net Zero World. Please, let's tee up the video.
2 years ago, we launched Net Zero World with a vision, which is to bring the world-class expertise of the U.S. research enterprise and DOE's 17 national laboratories to the center of the global clean energy transition in partnership with leading countries who, pulling in the same direction, can change the world.
The Net Zero World Initiative supports partner countries in meeting their clean energy targets and achieving just transitions to net zero emission energy systems.
The Net Zero World Initiative helps galvanize our efforts on tackling climate change. It strengthens multi-stakeholder collaborations, accelerates renewable energy deployment, and improves commercialization of new technologies.
So the topics I'm most interested in are around financing, investment mobilization, and really innovations in implementation. Yes, there are important technical things that we need to address, but I think a lot of the technologies we have can start to address the challenges that we want to solve. And the key thing is getting these technologies equitably distributed across the world.
I want to be a part to do something to help the people in Bangkok, in Thailand, have the better quality of life, cleaner energy and cleaner air for all of us.
In Ukraine nowadays we are facing not only climate changes but also Russian aggression. So that's why we are looking not only for clean energy solutions but also for resilient, which will not only decarbonize our system but will also strengthen it.
Launched at COP27 by U.S. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm, the Net Zero World Initiative's Climate Smart Women's Leadership Program brought together 8 female energy leaders from Argentina, Chile, Egypt, Indonesia, Nigeria, Thailand, and 2 participants from Ukraine for intensive training and peer learning at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory.
I'm so excited to participate in the program because now I'm very confident that with Net Zero World Initiative we could really speed up our green transition in Ukraine, and with this program I'm completely confident that we receive efficient support in order to achieve our targets.
The other women in this program are honestly incredible women, very inspiring. It's been wonderful meeting them all and getting to know them over the past 2 weeks. And we've shared all of our countries' experiences, which we all could relate to because we all come from developing countries. So that's been very enriching.
So we're learning from each other. We are understanding what the context of every country is. And the mentors and the technical experts and the country coordinators have just been so open about learning and engaging and finding those deep personal connections to make sure that everybody is stronger together.
I have learned so much from the program, technical skills definitely, so thinking through the modeling innovations that currently exist to support planning, policy making, decision making. But beyond that, I think the leadership skills have been most important, just getting the skills to step more confidently into my role in the energy transition. I'm taking that with me for the rest of my career, just the confidence, the vision to drive this transition in Nigeria and then globally.
Together, we're moving from ambition to action toward the net zero world that we all know is possible.
All right, as you could see, this was really focused, the video in particular, on the climate smart women energy leaders. I want to clarify there are also dudes working on the Net Zero World Initiative, just to clarify in case that needed clarification. Let's have our panelists come up here and join me, and I'll introduce you as I ask my first question for each of you. Please, Deputy Minister and Paul and Steve, come on up. All right, let's start with our Deputy Minister, and we're privileged to have our Deputy Minister from the Ukraine. And first thing I need to say is thank you for the resilience of your people in the face of outrageous aggression and what's going on and what continues to go on. I hope the world's attention continues to be focused where it needs to be. And thank you for the partnership on Net Zero World. We're trying to do everything we can in the U.S., not just at the Department of Energy, but more generally, to help the Ukrainian people and think about the Ukrainian people's future going forward. So just love to hear your perspective on Net Zero World and what we can do through Net Zero World or more broadly to help.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, colleagues. Today it's my last day in the COP, and
congratulations.
It's very thank you very much. I'm very excited because we feel this big support from our international partners of Ukraine, and we joined the Net Zero initiative in 2021, just a few months before the Russian invasions. And during this period, it changed a lot in Ukraine. We lost more than 50% of our generation capacities. The biggest nuclear station in Europe under occupation during this 1.5 years. And it's very dangerous signal for not just for Ukraine, and it's very dangerous situation not just for Ukraine, for all the world. And we lost more than 75% of our wind power, more than 20% of solar electricity, thermal stations. But we're still working together under the Net Zero initiative, and together with national laboratories, U.S. national laboratories and our experts during this period, we prepared a special report how to rebuild Ukraine on greener, more sustainable, resilient way. And I want to share with you this very important and interesting report. It's very important for us to continue this work, especially now, because our energy system changes every day, almost every day, because Russians, they not stop attacking the energy system, and we have some damages and some changes every day. And we try to find some solutions how to be more resilient, how to stay alive, to save our energy system every day. And this knowledges and this experience which we have working together with national laboratories and our partners is very important for us. It gives us more knowledges, more solutions, and for this moment we prepared this report with different scenarios. And now we understand clearly how we need to change Ukrainian energy system, what we need to achieve, because we share the global goals, and we want to achieve the climate neutrality till 2050, especially in energy sector. And we understand that we have this opportunity, and we need to do this because we don't have another way. We want to be greener, we want to be more sustainable and resilient. And also, you know that in Ukraine, more than 50% of our generation capacity is nuclear generation, and we have a lot of knowledges, and we want to share, and we want to use this knowledge maybe together with you, with your support. We want to improve, and we want to implement new nuclear technologies like SMRs, and I think it will help us to change our old energy system and to rebuild with new technologies like SMRs. And together with laboratories, we want to, in the future cooperation, we want to understand how we need to implement these new technologies in Ukraine, what we need to have in addition. And I think, and also we started the pilot projects for developing the distribution generation. It's also very important. Decentralize our energy system. It's also very important now for Ukraine. And I think together with our scientists, with U.S. national laboratories, with Ukrainian experts, we will do this. We will find the best solutions for Ukraine rebuild. And thank you very much for this support and for this event.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, and thank you for all the phenomenal partnership. I know we're very short on time, but what we thought would be useful to not only hear the country perspective in terms of who we partner with, and it's not just Ukraine, there's 7 other countries. It's Argentina, Chile, Egypt, Indonesia, Nigeria, Singapore, and Thailand. But to hear the national lab perspective, and the question I have for Steve and for Paul. Steve is the head of our national lab, the Pacific Northwest National Lab out in Washington State. Paul Kearns is the head of Argonne National Lab in the Chicago area in Illinois. What does Net Zero World mean for you, and specifically your colleagues who are working on Net Zero World, trying to take that expertise that we've got in our labs and help not just countries in the abstract, but help the people in those countries succeed more if we can with the expertise that we built up in these labs. And we'll give you each, unfortunately, just a minute each in lightning round fashion, the way things... No, it's my fault. I went on too long at the beginning. So, Steve, first to you.
All right, well, so I've been with the Department of Energy in my entire professional career for almost 40 years now. And what I can say, the things we're doing in Net Zero World are some of the most impactful and important things to our national laboratory and the people who have the privilege of working in this program. It's really incredible to see how we can take some of the technologies that we've been developing with U.S. taxpayer investments, not only to benefit the United States, but to benefit countries around the world. We've been working with Ukraine since 2014 to help improve grid resiliency. Now, looking forward, as she just said, they're looking ahead to after they won the war and what reconstruction looks like. This report is very impressive. But for each of those 8 countries, we're also working with them, as the Deputy Secretary has said, to look at what they're developing and how we can help them implement their roadmaps to the future. And for our people in the labs, to see that technology deployed and making a difference around the world as we try to save this planet we all call home is really impactful. And so that's what it means to some of us who work for the Department of Energy National Laboratory System. So thank you for this opportunity.
Steve. Paul.
Yes, I will echo what Steve just said in terms of impact. I would also add to the conversation the word relevance. It really helps us really lean in and understand what's going on globally and how we can all work together in a partnership model to address the impact, climate change and the impact that it's causing across the globe. I also would add an additional thought in terms of one of the comments that the Deputy Secretary made was around capacity building. And one of the unique features, I think, of Net Zero World Initiative is that we're teamed together really with the various partner countries as well as across 10 national laboratories. And we have a very unique partnership as well with IAEA that really has allowed us to really do some very significant training, really bringing a great set of tools and capabilities to the fore and really offering that to the partner countries and key leaders and key employees in those countries to build capacity. So really a great thing to do as well. So it's not just about our own capabilities, but it's also about really enriching the capabilities across the globe.
Well, it's a great comment, and it's all about partnership. It's partnering with the countries like Ukraine, and it's learning from that. Our labs benefit, our expertise benefits when we have these kind of partnerships, and we learn from what's going on in other key countries. So thank you to all of our panelists. Let's give them all a round of applause if we could. And we've got a special closing speech by another partner. Joseph, if you can come give us some thoughts. And as I mentioned at the outset, we're focused on partnering on this incredibly exciting, I've got to say, battery energy storage partnership. As you're coming up here to speak, I want to point out some other partner and leader, Ron Benioff. If you can stand up, Ron. Ron is helping to coordinate all our Net Zero World activities across our national labs. If anybody's interested in more information about Net Zero, swarm Ron after this or anytime you see him. Joseph, over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. So, two things. I think this ability to move from national laboratories to the field is really crucial. And I know this because about 15 years ago, one technology emerged from the labs that was a fuel cell that rural households could put into their cook stoves while they were making dinner, and it would generate electricity to charge your cell phone and to provide a light. I was involved in taking that technology, finding some capital, venture capital for it, and helping find the market for it in Africa. While that didn't succeed and it fizzled out, it shows you the level of technology and intelligence that exists. I had not seen a group of really, really smart PhD concentration as I did from that discussion. The other example is I helped found a company called Enervolt that had technology, again, from the labs. It was a sodium bromide battery energy storage that was a flow battery. And the idea was to take it, it's very basic technology that could work very well in the markets that I focus on, which is the developing world, store energy in a flow battery way so you're able to manage the thermal issue. As you know, in a lot of our markets, particularly in the Sahel region, it's very hot. So lithium-ion batteries and others may not have as much advantage as flow batteries. So I do know that the technology exists, and I'm therefore very excited to be part of this partnership as the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. While those technologies exist in the labs, we need to move them into the field, and that's why this partnership is so crucial. We at the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet partner with countries and governments to understand their priorities in terms of energy access and electrification. We then try and help them in the planning process to ensure that they have a coherent, coordinated approach to how they get investment into their energy sector. By working in collaboration to develop the battery energy storage systems and deploying them into the countries, we're helping countries who have access to solar energy, wind energy at incredibly cheap prices manage to use that as baseload. Today, if you go to Malawi, they have over 60 megawatts of solar energy. But the moment their baseload power goes down, which is largely hydropower, that 60 megawatts is unusable. With a battery energy storage system, we'll be able to accelerate not just the 60 megawatts, but additional more at very cheap electrification. But that only works if we work as a partnership. And therefore, I'm delighted that the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet is partnering with the Net Zero World to take the technology into the market. And I'll conclude by saying, and I wore the hat of the Africa Climate Summit CEO. And the narrative coming out of that summit is, we're in this together. Africa has resources, it has renewable energy capabilities, the world has technology, and it has financing. If we work together, we will unlock the climate crisis. Here we are working together. Thank you.
Joseph, thank you to our panelists. We are all in this together, and thank you for learning a little bit more about Net Zero World. Thanks, everybody.